This is a test of the boundary part alert system. Danny and Steve are with me today. Danny, last time we spoke was directly after the Scunthorpe game, and it was mega doom and gloom. And last week's podcast, I focused on Abdallah's statement, and that was a bit doom and gloomy. But in between all that, it's been far from. We seem to have turned into Brazil, scoring long-range worldies and winning consecutive games. What's happened, Danny, since last time we spoke?
Well, they say 7 days changes a lot in football, and to be fair, you couldn't have got any more of a turnaround, could you really? I mean, there's been some miles travelled as well by the squad, and obviously we've travelled to Exeter, Barrow, and then to Bradford and won all three. Is pretty spectacular to come away with 3 away wins and then obviously 5 away wins on the bounce, which is unbelievable. And to be fair, we look at a really good side going forward on the break, counter-attacking. We do look like we're going to cause teams problems, certainly away from home. Obviously, it's massive that we put our home form right and see where that can take us. But when I came on against Scunthorpe, I said that I wasn't sure who the other 2 teams would be that finished below us. I'm quite happy to say when I think I've got things wrong. And to be fair, after the last week or so, it certainly looks that way, because if you can score goals, you've always got a chance, haven't you?
Yeah. I wasn't going to do the podcast after the Exeter game anyway, so it was already pre-recorded kind of thing. But I wasn't getting excited after the Exeter game. Like, you know, it was a good performance, it was a good win, amazing goal. And to be honest with you, I'm not getting overexcited now. I'm not going to be all doom and gloom about it, but we're on a really good run of form over the last few games, over the last week, and that's fantastic. And hopefully we can carry on. But, you know, we have to temper it, don't we? But Steve, something seems to have clicked, doesn't it? Definitely.
Yeah, it seems that way. I mean, watching that today, it looked to me like Bradford looked like where we were a couple of weeks ago. You know, you look at their body language; it wasn't great. Their attitude didn't look good. They just didn't really look like they were playing for each other. And then you looked at us, and you know, we looked a lot more assured. We looked like we looked dangerous on the break. You know, we should have had a hatful more really today. And it is a massive turnaround, and I know it's a cliched thing to say that confidence is massive, but you could see that the tails were up a little bit today, and we know we've got goals in the locker. Like Danny said, that's always going to give you a chance. And yeah, it's an enjoyable game to watch, to be honest. I enjoyed it.
I think the confidence is showing from the kind of goals that we're scoring, aren't we? 4 goals in the last 2 games. Thinking back to Exeter, 2 cracking goals against Exeter, and then 2 absolute belters today. And then we scored 4 on Tuesday against Barrow. So now that's 8 goals in 3 games. Now I was going to tweet it, but I didn't want to curse us in any way. But we didn't keep a clean sheet today, but we also didn't concede from open play. You know, we conceded a penalty, but that's it's as close to a clean sheet as we've had all season, isn't it? So, because that's the real issue. As I mean, like I watched the Barrow game. I didn't see the Exeter game, and I didn't see the Bradford game today. Barrow should never have scored. We should never have been conceding 3 against Barrow. They didn't look like a team that were that dangerous. I was a bit disappointed by that. But you know, if we win every game 4-3, then it'll be a fun season, won't it?
Definitely. I mean, really, you could put a goal of the season video together just on the basis of the last 7 days, couldn't you, really? With some of the strikes that we've had. And,
absolutely brilliant.
I mean, albeit we have conceded, and we did look fairly assured, to be fair, most of the game. That's perhaps because Bradford didn't offer too much going forward, but it's important to get the points on the board and the wins, and when you're in good form, isn't it? And then if you do a rocky patch, or you go back to the early start of the season form, then you've got the points in the bag to play with, so to speak. But it's certainly a very positive last 7 days, and again, looking forward to Tuesday now as well, which I've not said for a while.
No, and it seems like a good time to be going into playing Tranmere, because obviously we want to beat Tranmere. Like, that's one of the fixtures that you look for at the start of the season, and one of the teams that you want to be getting your wins against. We've given out a lot. We've been not quick to criticise, but we've criticised when we need to. throughout the start of the season for rightly and over the build-up of things over the last few years. At the start of the season, it looked like it was going to be a real struggle. The season might still be a struggle. We've had a good run, but we've got to be fair and we've got to give credit as well to where it's due. Who do you think deserves the most credit for how things have turned around in recent? I want to say recent weeks, but in the last week, really.
I think you probably just have to give it to the players, don't you? To be honest, I think you look at what happened against Scunthorpe, and I think Kuehl came out after the game and said, you need players to stand up and be responsible for what's happened on the pitch. And I think that you can sense. I mean, when we played Exeter, there was some. I think Pierre Gianni was defended really well in that game in some like last ditch challenges and clearances off the line and stuff like that. And I think the players have sort of rolled the sleeves up a little bit by the looks of it. And I think you can see the confidence coming through. And, I think to go to someone like Exeter and get a result, and you've seen their results afterwards as well, and they've not been bad. I think they won 6-1 the other night. So, that is a really, really good result. I think you've got to give the players a hell of a lot of credit for coming back from that early season form. And Dan says, I think we were critical, I think, and we weren't the only ones. I think a lot of people were critical, but then again, you can only really say what's in front of you. And what we were watching wasn't great, was it? But it certainly seems to have, we've turned a corner. I think that the two biggest things I'd probably have on my list if I was Harry Kuehl at this point would be, whilst it's great to win 4-3 every game, it would be nice to just have the odd clean sheet and just know that we've got that in our locker, incremental gains and all that kind of stuff and improvements. So that would be good. The other thing I would say is sorting that home form out. I think, you can see when we set up away from home that we clearly want to catch teams on the break. And we are doing that.
Are we playing to our strengths away from home and not at home then? Is that what?
I don't think you can play that way at home. I think you've got to find a different way of playing at Boundary Park, because when you play at home, teams will come and sit in and expect the home side to have to put the stamp on the game and to control the tempo of the play, and they'll come and sit in. Now, Cheltenham didn't do that, and we played in effect an away game at home, which you could do on occasion. But if you're an away team looking at the way that Oldham play, when you go to Boundary Park, you're just going to sit in and go, right, well, you break us down then, because when we come at you and we overcommit, then Oldham can easily pick teams off, and we've done that certainly for the last 7 days.
How much of that, though, the home and away mentality is to do with fans in the ground? Because really, it doesn't make any difference whether you're playing home or away. The pitch is still the pitch and still 11v11. So there's people say the impetus is on the home team to attack, but that's only really because the fans expect that, and the fans are behind you, and they drive the team on, don't they? I think that's the reason for it. Well, there's no fans in the stadium, so be it home or away, it shouldn't really make any difference, should it? Now, I'm not saying that Oldham shouldn't go for games and shouldn't attack. I'm just wondering if there's any difference at the minute with the way things are.
Maybe Kuehl should just shove them all on a coach and drive them around for a couple of hours, and then just drive them back to Boundary Park, and then just.
Well, there's got to be something in it, isn't there? What is it? I did see something. I did see somebody tweet something about does Mo not travel away, which made me chuckle. I don't know if he does or if he doesn't.
He looks like a bit of a coach driver, actually. Don't know that flat cap.
With his cap on.
You can imagine him
you can imagine him with a tab sticking out of his mouth. Yeah, just sticking his cap out at the end for tips. On the subject of Mo, though, there are some players in that team that are good signings that Mo has signed. So we have to give him some credit for that. The list of players that have been and gone that were all plus is definitely a lot longer than that. But he has signed some decent players and they are performing at the moment. Do you think that the fact that Kuehl hasn't been sacked is playing? I think we've said this before. I think other managers might have got the boot after the first 10 games of this season, but judging on what's happened before, the fact that he didn't and that he's given Kuehl a bit of time, it seems to me now that Kuehl's getting his head around this group of players and getting them to play in a bit more of a settled way, certainly away from home. So that kind of patience seems to be paying off, doesn't it?
After the Scunthorpe game, I firmly expected there to be a club statement and Kuehl to have gone. Just going on past form, with Beneed and Bunn and Wellens to a degree. And I did expect him to have gone now. The turnaround has been, over the last week or so, has been pretty spectacular. That said, Kuehl came out, didn't he, a few weeks ago? I think it was on the Football Focus, and said that any manager or coach needs like 3 years. Now, I'd be majorly surprised if we got anything like 3 years, but that'd be one of the steps to showing fundamental change in basically you having stability in the way of not sacking managers or not sacking a coach. If they can have a good working relationship amongst all three of them, if indeed, obviously, you believe that Mo and Abdallah have got quite a bit of a say, crack on. Hopefully he can keep delivering results and hopefully he can do it at home as well as away.
I mean, the players seem to be enjoying themselves lately, don't they, as well? It seems to be a good spirit amongst them, and that's Kuehl's job, is to develop that dressing room spirit and keep everybody happy. And look, I've not wanted us to get rid of any of the managers that we've got rid of purely because they've not had enough time. And there's no way to say that you're failing. It was just far too soon to say you're failing. So
I think that's the world we live in, isn't it? You can lose 4 or 5 on the bounce, and fans are calling for a manager's head, and it's not right. It's just modern football, isn't it? It's that kind of we want results, and we want results now. But I think with Latics, it's always been a case of you get to that point where you lose 4 or 5 on the bounce, and people are calling for the manager's head because that is what's happened previously. That's kind of the rules you operate to.
But it's the one thing that we've all been majorly sick of is the chopping and changing. It's like you're going to have to stick with someone at some point.
Yeah. I think even, if it's, I mean, we don't know what's going to happen this season. Even if we finish 17th and Kuehl is not sacked, then I'm not saying it's a good thing, but I just think like that constant chopping and changing doesn't help. It's not helped us in the last 3, 4, 5, 6 years in terms of like getting rid of managers and bringing somebody else in. It's led to a massive turnover in squads every year because, different managers, and you've got sporting directors, and they all have different ideas about the sort of style they want to play and plays that they want to bring in. What we're desperately crying out for at this football club is stability. And if that means finishing 10th this season, keeping the nucleus of this squad, and then tweaking the odd signing here and there next season to push on, then I think fans would probably take that. And that combined with a lack of stuff happening off the pitch, if we can have a season of no drama off the pitch, then that represents a huge step forward, really. Yeah. And I think that's probably what we're all looking for.
Yeah, I think the reaction at the start of the season, the way that we were all losing our shit over what was happening, it wasn't because we were pissed off with the players or pissed off with Harry Kuehl. We were pissed off with the fact that we'd had to start all over again, really close to the start of the season. And we were all fearing the worst as a result. So, we're not out of the woods yet. We're on a good run. If Danny Rowe gets injured, that's going to change everything. He's been the difference. The fact that he's now playing every game is massively important, which he wasn't at the beginning of the season. Not quite sure why. But I would like to point out to Abdallah that he's the oldest player in the squad. He's 30, and he's the reason why we're playing so well, because he's the main man. McElhaney coming back is huge. He's absolutely brilliant at this level. So yeah, we've definitely got a good first 11, but it is very much dependent upon keeping those main men fit. So it'll be interesting to see what happens when the games are coming thick and fast. It'll be interesting to see when Rowe's rested or he gets a knock or whatever, or we're a couple of players missing, how we get on then. I don't think there's any doubt that our most dangerous 11 is half decent and will win games.
One of the massive positives today for me was the way that McElhaney and Rowe linked up. I thought that earlier on in the season when we had McElhaney up on his own, and yes, he was scoring goals, but he just looked so in open play. He just looked so isolated up at the top. Everything was just coming back off him, and it was everything was just coming straight back at us. I think with Rowe and McElhaney, I think we said on one of the earlier podcasts that Rowe was probably one of the better players in that squad for just being able to put his foot on the ball and control the pace of the game, and just because he's not quick, so he wants an extra touch. He wants to turn into space. And I think that's really helped. And he's sort of quite good at playing that early ball and just catching the defence off guard. And you could sense it a little bit in the game today when McElhaney got brought off and we just went one up top, that it just changed the dynamic of the game a little bit.
It very much sounded like as soon as McElhaney went off that we were under a lot more pressure.
Yeah,
and
the ball wasn't sticking up top anymore.
Yeah, Bradford were in control of the game a lot more. And but look, I mean, McElhaney up front on his own, he was having to work so hard for nothing, wasn't he? Just running around and that just knackers him out. Yeah, I mean, no Bahambula today. Obviously doesn't sound like we missed him.
No, I think he obviously really good at driving at players and stuff like that. But I thought Fage had a decent game before he went off injured. But no, we didn't really miss him, to be honest. I think it was probably in some ways that was probably our best performance of the season. We're most comprehensive all over the pitch.
Bradford aren't much cop though, are they? They're on a bad run of form and. They were. I mean, I'm not to take away from today's performance, but you can only beat what's in front of you, and all the rest of it, all the other cliches. But
you can only beat what's put in front of you, and at the end of the day, can't you? And to be fair, they have done that. Just to reiterate Steve's point from before as well, that fans are enjoying what's going on the pitch over the last 7 days. So it's imperative now if we are looking forward to games like Tuesday, next Saturday, and what have you, and looking forward to the football, that it is imperative that the things off the field don't rear its ugly head again, isn't it? Really, because that knocks everything. If that comes back, if there's rumours of unpaid wages or a winding up order or an article about a member of staff or players or anything, or a club statement. One of the famous club statements could come out about anything. It is majorly important that it just basically has sole focus on the football, and everything in the background just ticks along quite nicely. And if we can get to, next year, the end of this season, like Steve said, with nothing happening off the pitch, then the sole focus can be on the pitch. And like I said, anything could be achieved if everything is rather settled.
Yeah, no, it's definitely an opportunity for the club to put its best foot forward and try and engage with fans when things are going well on the pitch. They've got more of an opportunity. The fans are more likely to do that when they're enjoying the football. Fans are more likely to start buying match passes for iFollow and all that kind of stuff when we're winning matches. I mean, we're coming up to the Christmas period, and we always have an absolute nightmare over Christmas. We never do well over Christmas. I was just before we started recording, I was telling you we played some. They showed some games on iFollow over Christmas last year, and it was all the games I watched. We lost on aggregate, something like, I don't know, 11, 12, 3 or something like that. It was awful. But imagine if we could just keep up this kind of form, get points on the board, and have a good Christmas, and actually start the new year, in the third round against someone decent. TV, everything would feel a lot better, wouldn't it? It really would, and it would be nice that happens, because it's been a long time since we've sort of started a year feeling like that. Like the FA Cup is usually just a bit of a relief. If you're in the third round, like Fulham, and it's just like a bit of an escape from reality. But it'd be nice to go into it with a good league campaign over Christmas under our belts, and being up. Even in sight of the playoffs, it's such a tight division. I think by the time we can go on a bit of a run now. I think one of the things that's good for us is we're not drawing games. Like we've struggled in previous years where you just draws and draws. This season it looks like we're either going to win or we're going to lose, and I'd rather that was the case than grinding out useless draws. Yeah,
I think League Two is. We've said it a million times, haven't we? It's not a great league, is it? Let's be perfectly honest. And you can see that everybody beats everybody, and 46 games it's a long old season in terms of games. Obviously, it's going to be a shorter season this year in terms of actual time. Yeah, let's just try and get a run together and see where we are, game after game. And if we end up sort of being able to sort of push for being top half, being playoffs and whatever, there's no reason why we can't, because the league, from what, let's be honest, we watch it week in, week out. Even the teams that are beating us don't look amazing. It is a poor league.
And that's why I'm struggling to get excited about it, because it's like, yeah, but it's a shit league, and it's like we really ought to be doing a lot better. than we have been doing. And if like I say, if come the new year we've had a good Christmas, and then I might start letting myself get a bit excited. But when it comes to Oldham, I get so let down so often. I've got my hopes up over this manager or this little run or so many times. I mean, and it always just just fizzles out, and you end up disappointed. Like, I just can't let myself get excited over 2 or 3 wins. It's like, this is what normal teams do. They win some games, and it's that's how it goes. It's not something to get too overexcited about usually.
Touching on the standard, the Barrow game the other day was the standard was awful. It was very watchable, and it was quite an exciting game of football because you never knew what was going to happen at either end, really. But the standard is pretty poor at this level. But again, if there's nothing in the division, then a few wins on the bounce can really take you forward, can't it, and propel you up the division.
Yeah. No, we need. I don't want to be a real come down losing to Tranmere. Obviously we're one of the big rivals, Tranmere, and I want to beat them. And if we do beat them, then I'll start to feel like there's something happening, like there's some real momentum, to be honest. If we lose, it will take the wind out of our sails a little bit.
After a break from league action with a 2-1 win over Bradford in the FA Cup this weekend, Oldham now turn their attention back to the league. First up is a game on Tuesday against local rivals Tranmere. Tranmere are coming into the game on the back of a 1-0 win against Brackley Town in the FA Cup and have been in impressive form in recent games, winning all 7 of their last games in all competition. This has seen Tranmere take a rise up the table, now sitting in 10th after their 4 consecutive league wins. With a total of 14 matches played so far, they have won 6, drawn 3 and lost 5, managing to earn a total points of 21. Scoring 20 goals and also conceding 20 goals, their goal difference has levelled out. Tranmere's top goal scorer this season is James Vaughan. Playing in 11 games, he's managed to total 7 goals. Tranmere's most used formation is a 4-2-3-1. They have played a total of 4 games using this particular setup, scoring 3 goals, conceding 1 and winning 2 games and drawing 1. With Feeney and Khan on the wings providing the balls into the box for the striker James Vaughan, it's a system that's been working for Tranmere. And Tranmere also have a former Latics player in Peter Clark. The former Latics captain is their main man in the back alongside Emmanuel Month, and they've been working really well together in the last few games to get Tranmere up the table, averaging 51.6% possession and a 69.7% pass completion. Tranmere are a side that are good on the ball. They're also a side that is good in the air, winning 26.8 aerial duels per game. The only weakness that has been seen of Tranmere this season is their defending of set pieces. That's where most of the goals have come against Tranmere this season, and one way which Oldham might look to utilise to get the edge in this one. Most of Tranmere's shots come inside the box, with an average of 5.8 of the total 9.9 coming within the 18-yard box. Coming out of the Bradford games with a couple of injuries, it'll be interesting to see the Oldham side that line up against Tranmere, with players such as Bahambula and Zach Durnley out injured and being joined by another attacker in Bobby Grant. Oldham have had a boost with Conor McElhenney returning and Danny Rowe's fantastic goal-scoring form.
I guess with the way that we started the season and what our expectations were at the beginning of the season, to even be considering looking up rather than down is definitely progress. It's definitely positive, because there was times in the beginning of the season when we thought we're doomed, we're going down.
It's just nice to come on and talk about something positive, isn't it?
Yeah, and I can imagine that there'll be certain people within the club and the owners and that will be saying, oh, everyone was overreacting and everyone was, getting a bit too pessimistic and, like we knew you shouldn't panic and all that kind of stuff. I can imagine that there's that kind of talk, but I think that we've been justified to feel the way that we did, to be honest.
Yeah, and I think, and we're Latics fans, aren't we? How long have we been doing this? How long have we had that kind of that eternal pessimism about like gallows humour that Latics fans have got? It's what we do. I think it's almost like we want success, but we probably wouldn't know what to do with it if we got it. It's like, well, else is a bit weird, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a very very foreign concept at the minute, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. So it's nice, and from a push the boundary perspective, when we're winning games, it makes our lives a damn sight easier. To be honest, we can focus on on doing some of the sort of the nicer stuff, and yeah, it just allows us to just gives us a bit of breathing space and allows us to sort of do a bit more stuff behind the scenes, which is nice.
It'd be really nice. I've got a really, like, there's a couple of sort of visions in my head. I'm not sure when fans will be allowed back into the stadium, and I'm not sure when, significant numbers would be allowed back into the stadium. But the way that it could go is the way that we started the season, and fans come back in, and it's like 2,000, even though we could have more. There's 2,000, and we're struggling down the bottom, and it's all very lackluster and very meh, there's the possibility that we put a good run together, we're doing all right, fans come back in. Fans have got favourite players all of a sudden again. Danny Rowe, McElhaney, fan favourites. Bahambula, Harry Kewell has proven himself, and people have given him a bit of time, and we've got a bit of belief in him. And it's a different boundary park. So there's kind of like the one of the two options, isn't there? It seems, not that they're options, but possibilities for what kind of boundary park we go back to. And like you say, Steve, we're Latics fans, and we've had to put up with a lot of crap. It'd be really nice for the second of those possibilities to be the one, wouldn't it? Where people are going back and there's a bit of a sense of optimism around the place. And even if we've still got concerns about the way the club's being run, and we've got concerns about A, B, C, and D, at least there's something to enjoy. And there's some fans, and there's a bit of atmosphere, and people are chanting players' names, and that'd be nice.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and let's make that distinction straight away that, results on the pitch don't correlate to what's happening off it, and I think we've made that point before. And, it's great to have stuff to shout about and be positive about, and have players that, you can sort of relate to and get behind. I think we also just want to make sure that, we don't end up, we can sort of cover all our bases with the stuff that's happening off the pitch as well, and just making sure that everyone's got the ducks in a row behind the scenes, and nothing's going to crawl out the woodwork, because that's the last thing that we need at this point to halt that kind of momentum that we're slowly building. So fingers crossed, we can just carry on in that vein.
I mean, in terms of the sustainability of the club, we really, really need this to work. We really need people to want to go back. And now, look, there's different schools of thought. There are some people that want Abdallah out, end of story, and they're not going to go in the ground and spend any more money, and they're going to try and starve him out that way. That's just, a lot of people think like that. We know that. And then there are other people who, if we're winning, will go because they want to go and see the football, they want to enjoy it. So, but in terms of the sustainability of the club going forward, this is massive. They really do need to win games, and when the turnstiles open, and we can let 4,000, 5,000, or whatever in the ground, that 3,000 or 4,000 people turn up, and there are people paying on the turnstile, and the club's getting some revenue, because it's going to be in a tight spot after all this COVID has finished. So it really needs that.
It is, yeah, and I think a lot of that, I think a lot of that is down to results on the pitch and people wanting to go back, and I think the other bit around that is that the club have got to show that they are now doing things in the right way, and that there aren't going to be any winding up petitions and stuff like that. I mean, obviously you can reference what happened down the road at Bury, and obviously Bury won the league and went bob. Just because you're winning on the pitch doesn't mean everything's rosy off it. And we've got to make that very, very clear. But certainly winning on the pitch does make everyone's lives a little bit easier. Everybody's Saturday night's a little bit better, and it's quite nice, isn't it?
Because it has been hard work, hasn't it, being so depressed about everything. It's been very draining, like worrying about everything, and none of us, regardless of how we feel about the owner and stuff, none of us wanted us to just keep losing every week and for it to just keep getting worse and worse and worse. That's not what we wanted. That's just going to add more and more stress to us all the time. So this is a welcome relief, a welcome break from that. And we definitely hope it continues.
That is definitely one of the misconceptions of certain people, that whenever we've won a game previously, some have come on and gone, oh, well, what about the people that didn't want us to win? And you're like, well, we all do want Oldham Athletic to win football matches. As Steve said, there's a clear distinction between on the field and off the field. And with results going our way on the field and performances as good as they have been, everyone is really happy to get behind that, to praise that, and to give credit where it's due, because that is what we'll do. That's what a lot of the fan base will do. It certainly makes for a happier place, doesn't it? Really. And
that's we had that when we spoke to Carl the other night, and because he referenced some of the like negativity on social media around, like, you know, when the team gets announced and, you know, reading the comments and the stuff that's said, and we said, you know, we can't defend people that make personal slights on members of the squad, or, you know, they're offensive or anything like that. You know, you're never gonna condone anything like that. But what we did say was, us Latics fans, you know, we are eternally negative, because that's what we've been served up for the last however many years. I said, but by the same token, maybe prior to the last few years, it'd be a case of, you know, I've had numerous times when, I'm sure you're the same, like Dan and Matt, but like, you know, you've just lost an away game, and you're like, oh shit, wasn't it? That was really bad. Yeah, it was awful. Yeah, really bad. Yeah, I can't believe why did he pick him? And then you go, are you going next week? Yeah, I'm going next week. Yeah. You know what I mean? And you were unwavering in your support. And I think that's what we just tried to convey to Carl, was that we are a bit negative, but that's what we've had to suffer. Yeah. So it kind of makes you that way.
I think all people want, from all fans want, and I know that all you want as an organisation, and all I want from Carl and from the owners, and that is just that acknowledgement, of that genuine acknowledgement and understanding of why people have been feeling like they've been feeling. So yeah, I can totally get it. Like, and I really get it. And then how they then respond to things, and how they communicate things, and how they deal with things, is all done with that in mind. And if it was done that way, then everyone would be a lot more. Then you think, oh yeah, they get it. You know what I mean? And that's fine. And I think people have been getting a bit annoyed with the way that certain statements have come out and things have been dealt with, because like, no, they're still not taking into account. We can't just forget the last 25 years, last three in particular, or the bill. They have to get that, you know. And it's like, I'm not going to get overexcited by this week, but like I said, if by January things have started to turn around, and that's not to say I'm not enjoying the goals and the performance, I am, but I'm not going to get carried away with it, because I've been here before many times. So it's been a positive week, but we need a lot more of a foundation to build on to get it before we can really get excited. We shouldn't be getting too high when we win. We shouldn't be getting too low when we lose. We just want to see that curve steadily going in the right direction.
Yeah, and you just want everything that you're talking about to be based on what's happening on the pitch. You don't want to be talking about stuff that's happening off the pitch, you know. And one of the other things that we said to Carl the other night was, just if you're winning on the pitch, it doesn't mean you can continue in the same vein off it, in terms of things like the David Wheater statement, you know, which was an absolute shocker, really, wasn't it? Let's be honest. It wasn't good. The way it read, it was playground stuff, wasn't it? He said, she said, kind of. Yeah. And I think Carl admitted to some extent that, you know, it was a board statement, and perhaps if they'd have had the time again, they'd have not worded it that way, or they'd not done it that way. And it's like, well, I mean, we've said if the club are open to it, or if Carl is open to it, we're happy to sort of cast an eye over these things before they go out, because it's being able to read a room, isn't it? And I think one of the things that the club have struggled with is how to read a room, and, you know, they can release these statements and they don't read particularly well, or they just antagonise the fan base when they're already feeling pretty low anyway. So
I think that's one of the advantages of keeping people within the organisation over time, people that have been there for a while, people who've got experience, who can say, you know, who can call, you know, pull people up on that kind of thing. I know the turnover of staff has been high, and a lot of people that were there for years have gone. You know, there's maybe a bit more sensitivity within an organisation when you've got that kind of experience, you know, and maybe when you've got more new people in, they're not really considering some of those finer points and taking into account some of the history of things. Yeah,
exactly. And, you know, and let's be honest, with that statement, if the three of us had been writing that, you can guarantee that at least one of us would have said, "Don't mention his dog. Please don't mention his dog." Yeah. That's not going to go. That's not going to go.
Well, the first thing I would have said is that's going to get absolutely murdered on social media. Don't mention that. Like, I mean, you have to think about lots of different types of things these days. But look, they've had all season to put that statement out. So the fact that they managed to fuck it up There was no excuse. It's not like they didn't have enough. It's not like they were rushing it. So, like that's the kind of thing. But look, again, coming off the back of 3 wins, we're talking about some of the off-field stuff still, but it's only because we're kind of trying to temper it and we're trying to kind of keep a bit of perspective. I think that's the main thing. It's not that I think we're all very, very pleased with the turnaround in form. It seems to be a bit more settled. We've got our best players on the pitch. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, two big games coming up. We got Tranmere, haven't we? And then we've got Cambridge away, I think, which will be a toughie as well.
So
are they going to have fans in?
Cambridge might do, yeah. I'm not. What do you think about that? I don't think. I think it should be no fans in until all fans can go in. That's the way I think it should be. Yeah, I think it's really unfair based on geography that you can have fans in or not. And I know that the clubs are going to lose money, but it's still got to be. It's still. I don't know. It just doesn't feel right to me.
It's a strange one, isn't it? It really is a strange one. I'm not sure how that would work. I mean, is it fair that certain teams might be allowed home fans in?
No, it's not fair. And also, what might happen in Cambridge might go into tier 3 in a couple of weeks, and then they can't have fans in. So, maybe you can have fans in for a couple of weeks, and then we're letting fans in. This is spreading COVID. You're into tier 3. You can't have fans in anymore. It just doesn't seem to make any sense. It should be no fans until it's safe for all fans. I think that saves everybody a load of hassle and a load of money. What about if clubs like, say, Latics, for example, they're allowed to let fans in, and then all of a sudden, they turn around and say, it's going to cost, we can't afford to let fans in, we're going to lose money. And are they allowed to then turn around and say, well, no, we'd rather not let fans in? Then fans are like, whoa, it opens up all kinds of potential dilemmas.
We mentioned that to Carl the other night, and he said he'd prefer to get to a point where all season ticket holders could go in, and it won't be a case of picking and choosing who goes in. I mean, as it stands at the minute, if we're allowed 2,000 and we've only got 1,400 season ticket holders, so that shouldn't be an issue.
But at least you'd have potentially you'd have 600 paying fans when so at least there's some revenue being generated from it. Because if
obviously are going in,
if we had 2,500 season ticket holders, then it would be an issue. But
that said, the costings of having fans in stadiums and ensuring the social distancing is kept, and like the opening of kiosks and stuff, would it be financially viable? I'm not too sure. It is a strange one, isn't it? But that said, strange time we live in. So
but I'd just keep it as no fans until everyone's allowed, and simple as that.
After the midweek games are over, Oldham will then travel to Cambridge United. The side currently sat third in the table have only played 13 games this season, which is one less than Oldham. Winning 7 games, drawing 4 and losing only 2 games, they are in fantastic form. In terms of their goals, they are as good going forward as they are at defending. Scoring 26 goals and only conceding 10 puts them on a goal difference so far of 16, the best in the league. Earning a total of 25 points so far, they are unbeaten in their last 3 league games. They are a side that tends to have less possession than their opposition, with an average of 46.6% per game. And their pass completion seems to be a little lower than the average too, at 66.9%. They are, however, another side that likes to win aerial duels, winning an average of 26.8 per game. Their top goal scorer is the league's top goal scorer, Paul Mullen, who scored 13 goals and also managed to get himself an assist. He lines up in the Cambridge side in a 4-4-2 formation, which they have used for 8 games. It's seen them score 17 goals, concede 5, win 4 games and draw 2. Cambridge are at a slight disadvantage as they face Mansfield on Wednesday rather than Oldham, who face Tranmere on the Tuesday. Although Cambridge have been in fantastic form this season, they are facing an Oldham side that have won their last 5 away matches. Harry Kuehl's side have been fantastic away from home but have struggled at Boundary Park, meaning their league position reflects that. Oldham will be looking to jump up the table and earn good points to get them further away from the drop zone in the 6 points available throughout this week.
But I was talking a minute ago about our best players. Maradona died this week, so I think we should definitely mention Maradona. He never, and I know because I know someone who knows Maradona, and I know for a fact that one of Maradona's biggest footballing regrets is that he never got to play at Boundary Park, because he won the World Cup and he did all these amazing things. But apparently on his deathbed, that was one of the things that he said. He's like, "Oh, never played at Boundary Park," and then he died. So I mean, that's sad in itself, isn't it? Obviously, I'm making that up, but he was amazing.
It would have been nice to
wasn't
see him on the AstroTurf, wouldn't it?
It would have been. Imagine him playing in the 89-90 squad on the Astro. What a joy! I mean, he might have had to sit on the bench occasionally in that team.
Quite possibly.
But Maradona was amazing, and the first World Cup that I remember is the '86 World Cup, and the first games of that, the group stages of that, we were on holiday in France in '86. I was 8. Like, I remember Lineker scoring against Paraguay, and like everyone gathering in the bars on the campsite in France and stuff like that. And then I remember watching the quarter final at home with my mum, dad, and my brother, and Maradona's handball. And he was the first footballer I actually hated. Like at 8 years old, because you're 8 and you just want England to win, and he was like, but he's also he is the best footballer ever, isn't he? What do you think? I mean, he was. I think, and also he was just his personality. He was just his energy, the personality, the man, the legend. You don't get players or people like Maradona very often, do you?
You don't get characters like that anymore, do you? I don't think in the game. It's almost like trained out of you, like media trained out of you.
But you couldn't train anything out of him. The man didn't give a fuck. He lived his life. People are saying he died when he was 60. He did well to get to 60. And most people would trade 60 years on Earth as Maradona than 80 years on Earth as anybody else, because he enjoyed his life,
Oh, I mean, but you look at like the clubs that he played for, and he was just an icon at pretty much every single one of them, wasn't he? He was obviously at Boca. I think he played there twice. He was a huge icon. I think he helped him win the league as a kid. You look at, obviously, when he was at Barca, Napoli. I mean, probably Napoli is the club that he's most revered by, isn't he? Just because of what he did there.
Did you watch that Maradona in Mexico documentary?
No.
I think it's on Netflix. I think it's really, really good. It's like a bit later on in his life. I'm not sure what year it was exactly, but he goes to Mexico as manager and takes this team that's struggling. It's absolutely brilliant. It's really, really good. I'd recommend anyone listening and you lads to watch it, because what comes out of it is, Maradona is Maradona. He's always going to be Maradona. But there's this distinction between Maradona and Diego. Like, Maradona is his personality and Diego is, more of the real him. What he does, how he infects the players and how he gets the best out of them, and he loves them. And his relationship with his players is really amazing, really heartwarming. And like, you see a different side to him than maybe what what you might have seen or what you might have been perceived. And he does amazing things at that club, and it's fantastic. And he goes there and he's just a legend. Like, just wherever he goes, it's not just that he's taken this kind of charisma and this aura and this reputation with him. Like, he goes there and he really does it. You know what I mean? He turns it around and he does what he goes there to do.
And what he could do with the football was just unreal, wasn't it? I mean, you can be annoyed about the hand of God, but then he follows it up with one of the greatest goals ever.
Which rubs salt in the wound, doesn't it, of the hand of God? It's like, ha.
Yeah.
I think, like, Peter Shilton's still very, very bitter about it, innit? But Peter Shilton should have taken Maradona and that ball out of the equation. Like, there's, what I mean? I think that's what Peter Shilton's more bitter about, the fact that he knows that he should have taken the ball and the man. And in the 80s, he could have got away with literally flattening Maradona and it would have been fine, like. Well, do you remember that German goalkeeper? What was the German goalkeeper who took out the...
Oh, yeah. Oh, I can't remember his name. I know which one you mean.
Back in the 70s, I think it was, or the early 80s, there was an incident where he just broke his neck or something.
You could do anything, couldn't you?
Yeah.
And also, on the subject of great players as well, it's Andy Rich's 60th as we speak. So, many happy returns to Andy.
Absolutely. Sound guy, and I mean, just absolutely lethal in front of goal. He could score any kind of goal, couldn't he?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and they say, don't meet your idols, but meet this one, because he's a true gent. He's a proper bloke, and loves the game, and he loves Latics with all his heart. So really
great man. He'd certainly do anything for for anybody. I mean, we had one. We got approached by a family of a lad that had cancer, and he wanted to meet Andy Ritchie. So this lad came to push the boundary and said, "Have you got any contact towards him?" And I met him on a night in the OEC. I think it was like a night with David Ayres, and there was a few other Oldham players there. And I spoke to Andy Ritchie about this, and he said, "Yeah, not a problem." We managed to sort out a visit, and Adam went with Andy Ritchie to this lad's house, and made one of his dreams come true, which was really nice.
He's a top bloke, and he's definitely one of the best players we've ever had. Who's the best player you've ever seen play at Boundary Park who wasn't a Latics player?
Oh, I was just about to say Log, Kangawa and Dewa then, but you said not Latics player. Crikey. I probably have to go back some, to be honest.
Well, yeah. Chances are he wasn't. It wasn't during the League Two player. League Two campaign.
It doesn't have to be at Boundary Park, does it? Just opposition player.
Well, yeah, you can have that. Yeah, I did say at Boundary Park, but it can be opposition player. But
for me, it was on the dreaded 7-0 defeat at MK Dons, and Dele Alli scored 2 and set up God knows how many, 3-4 with a 7-0 defeat. That said, we barely had no keeper in net, given that we had Paddy Kenny there.
Well, he certainly didn't do much on the day, did he? That's for sure. I was at Boundary Park for Eric Cantona's debut for Leeds, but he came on as a sub, but I don't think he did much that game particularly. I think one of the standout performances I remember was Andrei Konchelskis against Oldham on Boxing Day 1991. Absolutely tore Andy Barlow to pieces, poor lad. He ran rings around him. It was it was a really good example. What's the word I'm looking for? Just a brilliant example of wing play. He was just devastating down the wing. Fantastic, really exciting to watch. When you're enjoying watching him play, and he plays for Man United, and they're giving you a good hiding, then you know that he's some player.
I remember when we sold Ian Marshall, and in my head it was right just before the start of the season. I think it was the season that we went down, so 93-94 season, and he came back on the opening day of the season for Ipswich, who he'd signed for. I think they beat us 3-0, I think it was, and he scored a hat trick. I remember that. We've given it the big one in front of the main stand as he scored. That was back in the day when you did celebrate scoring against your old club. Although I think there might have been a bit of animosity there, to be honest, from the way that he left. But I remember that. I remember that was a great performance.
Oh, he was some player for us, wasn't he, Ian Marshall? He scored some beauties.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that one against Notts County was a cracker. It may be in 20 years we'll be talking about Conor McAleny in this.
Well, you never know,
in the same way. Who knows?
Who knows? You never know. In the grand scheme of things, you don't have to do that much to be a Latics legend of the last number of years, do you? Sticking around for more than a season will put you into that category, I think.
Urko Vera just missed out, I think, didn't he?
He just missed out, yeah. He's like on the subs bench, isn't he, of legends at Latics.
I remember hearing somebody say that Urko Vera had been a cult hero at every club he played at. And it was when we signed him, and I was thinking, oh, right, well, fair, there must be something about him. And then I realised why he's a cult hero at every club he's been at, to be honest. I also wondered whether that was a typo.
Yeah. Yeah, it certainly could have been. There's definitely promise for some players in this team to be... They're probably not going to be my heroes. I think I'm a bit too old for heroes. Or the standard not maybe that I'm too old, but the standard I've got is quite high. But I'd just like some of the young lads, some of the young kids, the young supporters to be really looking up to and being inspired by the likes of Danny Rowan, Conor McAleny and Zach Durnley, maybe Bahambula, players that they can really get excited about and make them want to go watching Latics. Because, a lot of those players that we've just mentioned there, like Richie, they were all when I was a kid. You have hit more heroes when you're a kid. When you're older, you're a bit more cynical and, a bit longer in the tooth. You don't get quite as impressed as you do when you're a kid. But, what we want is some of these lads we want them to do really well this season, and then we want to keep, make sure that they're signed next season and that we're building a team around them, and that the kids can get their names printed on the shirt and then printed on next season's shirt as well. Because we've lacked that we've missed that, haven't we? We've missed that.
Just stability. I know we say that word all the time, don't we? But it's been nice to go into a new season and just know 90% of the squad. And you can think, right, well, they had a good year last year. Maybe they can build on that and you can strengthen in the areas that you're not quite as strong in, rather than sort of going, oh, we've only got 12 players like 2 weeks before we have the first game and not knowing the ability of anything.
You're never going to start the season well, are you?
No.
Doing that. So
no, exactly.
We will see. There is currently grounds for optimism. We will reserve judgment until the next few weeks have passed, let's say.
Absolutely. Yep.
So looking forward to watching the game on Tuesday. Hopefully we'll get a win. Anything else that anyone needs to know about what you guys have been doing? You've got new shirts available. You're looking very smart in yours there, Danny. You need to get 50 more ordered before you can get another batch ordered. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. We had fans come to us once it sort of started being posted out, and they were just sort of saying, can you get any more? And I think we were getting that many. I think that we inquired, and we've got to have a minimum of 50. As things stand, I think we've got 27 orders. So we had 27 orders in pretty much a day, which is absolutely fantastic, to be honest. It's great to have that demand. It's more money for the charity, which is obviously really important.
That's Melanoma UK, is it?
Melanoma UK, yeah, obviously, which was very closely linked with Ernie Cooksey. So a lot of what we're doing is kind of in his name as well. Yeah, get your orders in. Details are on the website and on Twitter and on Facebook. So just drop us a note and get your order in. But let's get to that 50, and then we just want to sell as many of these as possible because we're proud of them and we think we look great, and it'd be great to have sort of fans back in grounds and seeing people wearing them as well. That'd make us all really, really proud. Yeah,
be great. You want to get into an Ian Marshall mullet wig, Danny, while you're wearing yours? Steve, you can be Andy Ritchie.
Yeah, I'm definitely not capable of growing a mullet. I'm quite happy with that. I'll be Andy Ritchie. That's fine by me. No issues with that.
Right, lads. Nice to talk to you again.
Yeah, definitely.
Enjoy the rest of your weekend.
You too.
Yes, I'm the same to you, mate. Yeah.
All the best. Take care now. The Boundary Park Alert System is a Studio 6 production. It's hosted, edited and mixed by me, Matt Dean, and you can contact me on Twitter at DublinOAFC. If you'd like to get in touch with us or contribute to the show, our email is bpalertsystem@gmail.com, and we're on Twitter, Instagram and Facebook at OAFC Podcast. If you'd like to know more about Push the Boundary, you can visit pushtheboundary.co.uk and follow them on Twitter at PTB_OAFC. The match stats are compiled and presented by Thomas Berry, and you can follow Thomas, spelled Tomos, on Twitter at Thomas Berry. The title music for the show is Delirio by Manchester DJ and producer Starion. You can visit redlaserrecords.bandcamp.com for more info and the latest releases. If you like the show, please do review and subscribe on whichever platform you listen. Thanks for listening.